Well, we're going to start the grammar in Chapter 37, and the new grammar in Chapter 37 is called the ablative absolute. Ablative absolute is an absolutely fabulous Latin construction. But let's back up a little bit. In English, we have something called a nominative absolute, and it shows up in sentences like this one. These things being so, we will reconvene at 9 p.m. The opening words of that sentence, these things being so, gives a circumstance under which the second part of the sentence takes place. But we can get rid of these words and not affect the original sentence at all. We will reconvene at 9 p.m. is a perfectly fine sentence. As an interesting aside, the Greek language, the ancient Greek language, has something called the genitive absolute. So to create the same effect, they use the genitive case. But Latin uses the ablative case to create this wonderful ablative absolute. Quintus scuto obiecto e proelio ad castra fugit. Scuto, obiecto are two words in the ablative case. Ooh, typo. They could be removed without affecting the rest of the sentence. If I take these two words out, I would be left with quintus e proelio ad castra fugit. The literal translation of these two words, scuto obiecto, with his shield having been thrown away. I've got a noun and a participle, and the participle, both words are in the ablative. But a better translation, if I were translating something for publication, would be after he threw away his shield, Quintus fled to the camp out of the battle. Ablative absolute is a great thing to say, but what does the word absolute actually mean? It's participle. The word absolute comes from a perfect passive participle absolutus, which in turn comes from the verbs solvo, solvere, solvi, solutum, which means I loosen. Solutus aum, loosened, or having been loosened. Absolutus aum, having been loosened from. So words in the ablative absolute construction are loosened from the rest of the sentence. They're not in any way tied to or attached to any other words. To form an ablative absolute, you need a noun or pronoun plus a participle, and both words will be put into the ablative case. Scuto obiecto literally means with the shield having been thrown away. Sole, noun, oriente, participle, this time a present participle, with the sun rising. I could turn sole oriente into a good English translation by saying something like, as the sun was rising, or when the sun was rising. But I'm more concerned right now that you translate literally using the preposition with. Hoc audito, with this, a pronoun, having been heard. His dictis, another pronoun, with these words, we can actually make that better, with these things having been said. Final example, I have another ablative absolute this time. Notice that when I go to the English translation, my participle is the present participle being, which in fact does not exist in Latin because sum has no present participle. So sometimes you can have an ablative absolute in a sentence that's formed from two nouns, or maybe a pronoun plus a noun. Bruto duce, with Brutus the leader, is the literal translation. But I could put that little present participle in there if I want to make it look more like a normal ablative absolute. So, pellicula visa discipuli laeti sunt. Quid significat pellicula? Pellicula significat Vale.